welcome to Aragon for the first qualifying session of the MotoGP eSport Grand Finale ahead of the opening sprint in the final round of the 2025 Global Series. My name's Connor Doty and I'm joined by Chris Jordan for this session.
Connor, pleasure to be alongside you here as Aragon makes an eagerly anticipated return to the esports calendar. Of course, a staple of the general motorsports calendar since 2010. There is a factory Ducati rider out there who quite likes Aragon, Connor, and I think there's a factory Ducati rider here as well who wants to make an impression. However, we do have eyes on one of our Spaniards competing this year, the rookie over at Yamaha, Julito Campion, who, Connor, is something of a sprint specialist.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put there. A sprint specialist, 100%. 2 podiums in his rookie season, both coming in sprints. So absolutely fantastic stuff from Julito Campion so far in his opening MotoGP eSport campaign.
Eyes now on the Red Bull KTM factory racing rider of Christian, another rider who has hit the podium on a couple of occasions this year, neither of which in the sprint. Coming back in race 3 and race 4, he was on a double podium in Global Series round 2. However, he'll be looking to take a good qualifying here. One rider, though, who has not struggled in 2025 in qualifying is Davide Turrisi, who we briefly saw on screen there. The Aprilia rider is the outstanding candidate for this year's championship, it has to be said.
Yeah, we saw him on screen there. We saw him off track. So that's very much out of character for Davide Turrisi, as you mentioned. Yeah, very much the favourite for the time being. He's the first rider to have broken the 100-point mark so far in 2025.
Daniele Eloy then, the number 23, looking to make an impression. He ended up on the top step of the podium. Perhaps a disservice to say he ended up there. He very much earned the victory in race 4 back in Portimao, and it was a very needed victory indeed. One of the pre-season favourites was Eloy, and he just quite hasn't hit the expectations we have put on him. But what a performance in Portimao to get his campaign really up and running ahead of the grand finale down in Milan. Flavio Baldacci then, currently sitting in 3rd place. Of course, riders just going out now to set a time ahead of our final push, shall we say, for time attacks here in Aragon.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're watching Deepo Akbar on that Pertamino Enduro VA46 machine. Also been very impressive this year. And moving on now to Piero Ricciuti on that LCR Honda bike. He's currently he's currently top. But yeah, as you mentioned, all the riders looking to get that perfect lap put in and trying to claim pole position, which could be ever so important here in Aragon.
Eyes then on Adrian, our 2022 world champion. Perhaps a interesting season, let's say, for Adrian. Hasn't hit the podium just yet, but he is at one of the greats of the esports championship. But as he said, 13 wins throughout his years competing in the Global Series, but he has yet to get himself onto the podium in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. But in qualifying, he's been on pole position at least once in each of the last 5 seasons in MotoGP eSport. He got an astonishing 7 back in 2020, and no one's done that in a single season, apart from Jack Hammer, who managed to equal it in 2023. You were mentioning Daniele Eloy and that Ducati machine earlier as well, looking to emulate Marc Marquez here in one of the Ducati riders' favourite tracks. Well, you've got to ask yourself whether an anti-clockwise circuit is going to be working in Eloy's favour as much as it does in Marc Marquez's.
Certainly seems to be so far. He has set the benchmark time. The Ducati Lenovo team rider Davide Turrisi then sitting 2nd provisionally with Adrian on the front row. So Adrian has come to play here in Aragon. Look at the focus then from the championship leader. He is locked in here. He knows a good qualifying here, and of course throughout the final round really sets him up. Could nearly say puts one hand on the trophy for him if he can qualify it well in all 3 events.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's been qualifying in such a sensational fashion so far in both round 1 and round 2. And now as we come down the reverse corkscrew, Turrisi is looking very much on course for another excellent qualifying session here in Aragon as well.
Yeah, Turrisi's got 3 poles to his name so far in 2025. Daniele Eloy, who currently sits provisional P1, did take pole position in the opening sprint of the year back in Jerez, so the Spanish circuits do seem to suit him over the shorter distance qualifying. But it has to be said, back in Jerez, he didn't get that podium. He ended up reversing down through the grid, did Eloy. So if he does get pole position here, which is looking pretty good as things stand, then he will be out with a little bit of vengeance, you would have to say, with a point to prove.
Yeah, absolutely. And we finished proceedings in the previous round with Eloy winning, as you mentioned. So yeah, he's got something to build on there. And we are with Deepo Akbar now, who's currently sitting P7. Did get on that podium for the first time in MotoGP eSport back in race 1, in round 1 in Silverstone.
Piero Rusciuti then, one of the riders to cross the line last. Could be all about track position here. The LCR Honda rider has got 2 pole positions to his name already this year. Can he make it a third? Currently sitting in P9 as he comes across the line. So let's see how the Italian fares. Extra Rock then sitting in P10. He will be the final rider over the line.
Yeah, just on Ricciuti there, when he has had a good qualifying in those sprints, he's also managed to make it onto the podium as well. So that just goes to show how important qualifying is ahead of this Tissot sprint in Aragon.
Here we are then. It is Daniele Eloy who has secured his second pole position of the campaign, a 1:42.445 from the Italian. And indeed, it is an Italian lockout of the front row. Davide Turrisi, the championship leader, sitting in P2. And of course, Piero Rusciuti has got himself onto the front row with that late effort, relegating Adrian to 4th. Your 2-time defending champion Jack Hammer goes from the middle of the second row, with Christian completing row 2. Then it is Flavio Baldacci, Deepo Akbar and Julito Campion with Extra Rock in P10.